Hello again, it's Don Garbutt from New Frontiers Audio. Welcome back to the Spektrumsynth tutorial series. This tutorial is going to demonstrate the range modulation capabilities of the patcher. Here's an example of a preset using range modulation. As you saw and heard in that little clip, range modulation is allowing the range amounts in the patcher to be controlled from other modulation sources. I'm going to start with a patch called Solo Oscillator 1 Initialization. This patch uses envelope generator 1 to control the volume of our solo oscillator. In this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an LFO controlling filter cutoff point with its range modulated from some other modulator. Let's select from LFOs 9 to 16 because their phase is key syncable. So here on the modulation source list is LFO 9. And we'll choose as a target Solo Oscillator 1 filter cutoff point. Make sure this fader is on the right to get to the bottom target, give it some range. So we note that Solo Oscillator 1's volume is up and that it's going out to filter 1. We'll set the filter cutoff point somewhere in the middle and double check that modulation messages from Grand Central Station have their range amount turned up here. Finally, we'll select LFO 9 here and we'll make sure that it's turned on. There we go, so we can hear the LFO affecting the cutoff point. To set the LFO to sync from the key, press this button here. The top position in the rate buttons allows free assignment of the rate. Choose this position for sync to clock. Clock sync uses 96 pulses per bar, and double-clicking on the speed control sets it to 24. With the division value set to 1, that'll give you a rate of 1 cycle per quarter note. Setting the phase at 0.5 enables the sine wave to start with the key depression. I'm going to set the rate to 6, which will give me 16th notes. And I'll talk more about the LFOs in a later tutorial. Now let's use an envelope generator to control the range of this LFO activity. To do range modulation, we make those assignments in Grand Central Station as well. We choose a modulator and a target in the same way that we're doing other patching here. To direct a modulator towards range modulation targets, you'll find the targets in the lower menus. Patches 1 through 8 can access range modulation of patches 9 through 16. And vice versa. Incidentally, we can also control range modulation from the wavetable router. Patcher number 1 can control range modulation on the first 4 patches at the bottom, and we have 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and 13 to 16 here. A modulation source would control all of the patchers in this group. So we'll use patcher number 9, and we'll choose envelope generator number 2. Giving it some range and making sure that I'm hitting the bottom target here, and choosing the bottom target, range modulation, patcher number 2. Now I'm going up to envelope generator number 2, setting with a long attack time. To complete this hookup, we activate range modulation here on the target. And let's check it out. There we go. So that's just an example of a range modulation patch. Range modulation opens up a lot of potential. You could, for instance, use aftertouch to control any of the patches that you've got going in your instrument. Let's set up an FM patch where aftertouch controls the amount of FM. We'll go to the FM folder and get the FM initialization patch. The FM process involves an interplay between the FM oscillator and the targets, whether they're solo oscillators 1 or 2, or doing frequency modulation of the solo filters. Typically, you would assign an envelope generator to control the volume of the FM oscillator. In the envelope generator, you can hear the decay of the FM amount with 0 sustain level. So I'll set the sustain value to full. Now what I'll do is I'll use aftertouch to control the range of this envelope's control of the FM oscillator. So I'll go to patcher number 3 and choose aftertouch and assign it to do range modulation of patcher number 13. Activate the range modulation button on patcher 13. Now you'll be able to see that aftertouch controls the value of the amount of the envelope. And that's just another example of how range modulation can work. In this example, I'm using a table sequencer to modulate the amount of FM. Here I've set up an LFO to do range modulation of that patcher. But when we activate the range modulation button, you'll see a bipolar range modulation effect. Because the LFO sends out positive and negative values. If you want to switch that to unipolar, where we only get positive values, then you switch to the unipolar setting here. So now you can see that the square wave LFO modulation source is only producing a positive value. In this example, I'm using this table sequencer to modulate the FM amount. Then I'm modulating its range with another step sequencer. So table sequencer 14 can control the range of sequencer 13's effect of FM. And that sort of thing. So let's check out a few more of those range modulation presets. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for watching.